Living underground, sheltered by the earth, is where some homeowners made their perfect sanctuary.
I've enjoyed living in this house for over 20 years now. The thing I like most about it is the peacefulness.
This facility is engineered to withstand a 2,000+ mile-an-hour shockwave generated by a nuclear detonation.
We like being underground. It just seems so warm, cozy, and protective, like a rabbit in a burrow.
From a beach house built into a sand dune, a storybook home cut into a hillside, and a missile silo turned into a peaceful safe haven.
In the beginning, some of my family thought I maybe had gone nuts.
Those who dug a little deeper, opting for life down under, are digging the rewards.
I can live in this house and feel a different way that other people can't. I can feel that I am more in harmony with nature and causing less of a mark on the earth.
Building something from scratch, especially something this unique, gave me a great sense of pride.
This is Ultimate Homes, underground. There are many reasons why people gave up living above ground for living below, but one of the most common reasons is ultimate protection. Although building a buried home takes a unique individual with gusto to make it happen, for those who succeed, the benefits are sky high. 16 miles from Jacksonville, Florida, is the coastal town of Atlantic Beach. Built into the sandy dunes, financial executive Carl Drew and his wife Jenny Malloy found their ultimate underground home.
The Dune house truly is an escape. It's an escape from the stress, it's an escape from every day, an escape from the norm.
Carl kept an eye on the property that had intrigued him ever since he was a kid.
In exploring Atlantic Beach, we stumbled across this house. This house was built when I was in high school. And it was somewhat of an iconic house for the community.
When the home went up for sale, Carl raced to show it to his wife and teenage son.
It is built into the sand dune. When you're looking at it from the beach, it looks like, as my teenage son said, a cave with eyes.
The couple got out their checkbook ready to buy the property. But it wasn't so easy. This wasn't a home that simply money could buy. They had to get approval from the architect.
A lot of people were interested in this property to demolish it and build a mega mansion. So he was very interested in what our thoughts were on what to do with the house. He wanted to make sure he was going to sell it to somebody that would respect it.
After convincing the architect of their plans to keep the integrity of the home, they shelled out nearly $1 million for the property.
It is clearly not a rational investment. It is not an investment that we're looking to make a lot of money off of. It is an emotional investment that we've made a cognitive decision to invest in the experience.
This was probably a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, given the architect is William Morgan, who's almost the father of Florida modern architecture.
The main house and guest suite are each 760 square feet, with 1 bedroom and 1.5 bathrooms. The sand insulates the house and moderates the inside temperature to stay cool at approximately 70 degrees all year round. The roof and the construction of the Dune house as a whole essentially resembles an upside-down swimming pool.
What's really interesting, you'll notice the curvature of the roof. That curvature was created using pool technology. It's actually rebar was bent, through a very complex calculation, and then it was shot with gunite. The round design of it would look something like a buttocks.
Inside the home was seriously outdated and required an extensive renovation to bring it out of the disco era.
All of this has been ripped out. Originally, this was a carpeted area, and this was originally built in the 70s, so a lot of it was Formica, and a lot of it was items from that era. So we've upgraded everything and put any modern touches that we could to it.
When the upgrades got underway, they were careful to preserve the charm of the architect's initial vision.
We took the best of what he designed and just modernized it.
They replaced all the cabinets and countertops, added a powder room and a washer and dryer.
One of the interesting things in doing the renovations is the round and the circular aspect. Almost nothing fit that was off the shelf. So almost everything had to be custom designed. We took almost everything out, back to the walls, to the concrete, replaced electrical, plumbing, modernize everything.
One of the unique areas in the guest suite is the 10 by 12 sunken living room, which seats 8 to 10 people comfortably. And above, a loft with a queen-size bed tucked below the dune, hidden by the sand.
One of the interesting features here is that the wall that separates the loft bedroom from the bathroom doesn't go all the way to the ceiling. That was the architect's original design to allow both airflow and the ambient light to come into the space.
Although the place was bright and airy, it wasn't quiet. Sound bounced off all the walls, creating one massive echo chamber. So Carl installed half-inch glass panels to disrupt the sound waves.
It actually made the space work more effectively for actually living here, especially when you have more than just 2 people here. We actually did the same thing with the headboard. We had custom-made glass along the headboard that accomplished the same thing.
This is the way to get out of the dune and onto the patio.
It's unique to this house and gives a view to the ocean that's like no other house that I've ever seen.
Since the living rooms in both the guest suite and main home were recessed into the floor, Carl opted to change one of the designs so he could capitalize on the views.
We wanted a more traditional sitting area. So what we actually did was put in a false floor over the pit. That allowed the couch in the sitting area to be at the same height as the rest of the floor.
For an even better view, they added 2 rooftop decks, perched on the dune.
We built this deck in order to get the same views that the house was originally designed for. Used to be, from the inside, you could see directly to the ocean. Over time, the state decided to repair the beach, and as a result, they brought in rocks, and those created dunes. And the dunes built up over time, and the dunes actually blocked some of the view. So we built this up, and now we've been able to enjoy the beauty of the ocean from the deck here. We had a very clear vision when we took on this project. We executed it, I think, pretty close to flawlessly. When we look at it now, we are really happy with the end result.
An underground beachside home with vast ocean views and modern amenities makes living down under feel like the top of the world. 120 miles northwest of Missoula, Montana, is the village of Trout Creek. Insurance broker Steve Michaels and his wife Christine loved the area so much, they bought 20 acres of the forested foothills. The Cabinet Mountains provided the perfect backdrop for their underground fantasy home.
We lived in Colorado, and it was getting a little, congested up above Boulder. And we were thinking, okay, where can we go? We wanted a stream, of course. We wanted to be surrounded by national forests, and we didn't want any neighbors, like everybody else in the world.
And this is what they built, their very own underground cottage. Costing nearly $500,000, the quaint home is just 1,000 square feet, complete with 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a 1-car garage.
We were going to build a big log, ostentatious log home, and we weren't able to get the financing for it, so we decided to go down under.
When scouting the property to find the perfect place for his underground abode, Steve fantasized about all the possibilities for his dream home. In the small town of Trout Creek, 120 miles from Missoula, Montana, Steve Michaels purchased a pristine 20-acre plot of land to build his dream home. Inspired by the rolling foothills and his love for literature with fantasy worlds, Steve decided to build an underground home fit for a gnome.
We realized that this parcel of land had nice granite formations in the back, and it gradually went down, and there were little hills that went down.
Steve couldn't handle a job this big by himself, so he called up his longtime friend, contractor Stan Ham.
Initially, it wasn't going to be completely underground. We were just going to build the dome with some retaining walls, and we would retain some of the dirt.
But Steve became fixated on making a fantasy home built into the earth. So Stan found a company that specialized in underground construction.
After we picked a design, they said, tell us the dimensions and we'll do the rest.
They inflated a balloon called an airform to act as the mold for the walls, and then sprayed it with polyurethane foam.
They came with like a big tent, and it was really interesting because they put double doors here, so like you go in, you shut one door, then you go into the other, so the air doesn't come out.
Then, a rebar frame was anchored to the foam and covered with a layer of concrete.
And then they came in with the cement, big hose, and then shot the cement on.
After a week, the concrete dome was almost 5 inches thick and bulletproof.
I asked how strong the top would be, and the guy who sold it to me said you could drive a Caterpillar tractor across the top. It's so strong.
Monolithic domes can support the weight of 15 feet of soil. The trick is keeping it in place.
When we decided to put it completely underground, we had to build a retaining wall that actually went over the structure. We had to figure out a way to pin that so it wouldn't slide off. We did that with rebar. We actually drilled down through the dome structure and pinned it to the dome with rebar.
Once the dome was securely buried, covered in dirt and sod, they started on the interior, a blank slate.
I've got kind of a wild imagination. I'll get up at 4 in the morning and think, oh God, that'd be neat. Let's do this, let's do this. It gives me an outlet for my creativity, for my imagination. Plus, it's pretty cool. So one thing I did is oh God, look at how great that guy is. Well, I installed mirrors.
He also used juniper beams and posts to give the place a more rustic feel.
There's not supporting at all. They're basically just for looks. And then I like the idea of having them come out, jut out a little bit.
A local woodworker made most of the custom furniture.
He did the lamps, which was all juniper, the table, the chairs. The actual posts on the chairs are fence posts from eastern Montana. And then these are juniper. These were done 3 different times because the first time I got on them and they didn't swivel. And the second time I wasn't able to put my foot up, so the third time was a charm.
Insulated by the earth, the temperature never fluctuates more than a couple degrees inside the dome.
And in the summertime, it'll be 85, 90 degrees outside, and you come in and it's about 60 degrees.
One drawback to living underground is the lack of natural light. There are no windows on the back side of the house. So Steve came up with creative ways to let the light in, like this glass door.
This is our master suite. Ta-da! Right here, we're about 25 feet underground.
The master suite is big enough for a king-size bed, but with no right angles, framing the walls took some ingenuity.
And as you can see here, everything was rounded and everything had to be calculated. The back of the bed had to be rounded. We had to take into account it's got to be higher here and lower on the bottom, so everything had the angle. I don't have anybody to answer to. I can take my own imagination and not follow any kind of script, but when I see something, wow, okay, this looks great. Where can I go with this?
Outside, the fantasy really comes to life, with decorative miniature homes that fill the front yard, giving the illusion there's gnomes living all throughout the property.
I'm still in awe every time I drive up here and see it. To know that I had a hand in doing a lot of those things, it still gives me a little bit of a thrill.
Steve's dream of building a one-of-a-kind home came true, and then some. He created the perfect fantasy village in the foothills of Montana's Cabinet Mountains.
Well, building something from scratch, especially something this unique, gave me a great sense of pride. Had my little bucket list of things that I wanted to do, and one was building my own house.
In Dallas, Texas, insurance agent Bill Coleman and his wife Mireya purchased a 2-acre plot of land to build a luxurious underground home.
I've enjoyed living in this house for over 20 years now. The thing I like most about it is the peacefulness.
This $1 million subterranean splendor is 4,500 square feet, complete with 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms, buried deep in the hillside. It took 1,000 tons of earth, 100 tons of concrete, and 60 tons of steel to create.
The house has several nicknames. I like to call it the house under the hill. Others have called it the bunker. Everybody seems to have their own name for it.
Bill had a good reason to build such a solid structure. Dallas tornadoes are deadly, and he experienced one firsthand.
When I was about 6 years old, a tornado came by and completely destroyed our wood frame garage.
Surrounded by 6 feet of concrete and steel, Bill will never have to worry about Mother Nature's destructive forces again. In Dallas, Texas, insurance agent Bill Coleman built a subterranean sanctuary to ensure protection for his family against tornadoes and other natural disasters. Having experienced the destructive force of a tornado firsthand as a kid, it has been his goal to build a home where tornadoes would no longer pose a threat.
The idea for building a home out of concrete and then sheltering it under dirt came to me way back in my childhood. We did one better than Dad, though. We put it underground.
The most protected area in the whole home is actually the master closet. Located at the deepest point in the hillside, it would provide ultimate refuge against the most powerful tornado.
It follows the standard ratio. 2/3 of the closet space is devoted to my wife's clothes and 1/3 to mine.
While Bill sacrificed closet space for his wife, he gave himself a stellar gift.
2001 started off as a movie. Stanley Kubrick did that in 1968. It became our address as well. I had to go down to City Hall to convince them to let us have it. Our neighbor's address is actually 2400. So I said, hey, you skipped a number of other addresses. Why can't I skip down to 2001? That would be a perfect house address for our home, kind of a spaceship underground.
The ceiling panels are also made of concrete. Each one weighs about 2 tons. 72 truckloads of concrete were poured non-stop for 24 hours to create the foundation. With more than 1,000 tons of dirt and concrete on the roof, custom supports were installed to keep it from caving in.
We only have 3 columns down the middle of the house, and they support all of the weight of the roof itself. This is one of our load-bearing walls, one of only 3 in the entire house. None of the other internal walls are load-bearing.
Above the roof is a turret of sorts, with 55 glass blocks that flood the house with natural light.
One friend of mine said it looks like a submarine surfacing. It pokes up above the soil, and there are 3 rows of hollow glass blocks there, and they allow the light to come in from the east and from the west sides of the house and spill down into the house, filling the interior of the house with plenty of light.
Summer temperatures in Texas can be excruciating. To save money, 32 solar panels were installed to generate 1/3 of the home's electricity.
A few years back, when there were over 70 days where the temperature reached a high of 100 or more, our electrical bill for the entire summer, June, July, and August, was only $240.01. We had friends with homes 1/2 our size paying bills 3 times as much.
And in winter, a special feature heats the home. Called a Kiva fireplace, It has been exhibited at the Smithsonian, representing American culture of the Southwest.
This fireplace is part of a double fireplace in the big room. The fireplace has a rounded opening, and the back of the enclosure is also rounded. You're able to put in a log vertically instead of horizontally, which increases the draw and helps them to flame up faster. It also bounces that heat from the back of the enclosure out into the room further, so you can get more heat going into the house as opposed to up the chimney.
One of the best things about living encased in concrete, no matter how loud things get, no neighbors will ever complain.
We've had a wedding, 6 receptions, and my son had one particular party while we were out of town, and there were over 200 kids here for that one.
On the far end of the house is the master bedroom.
Our master bedroom is cozy, and that was intentional. Our overall philosophy has always been to focus on the center of the house, the big room, the living room, the kitchen, and the TV room as places where we can get together as a family.
For the Coleman family, having a luxurious underground home impervious to tornadoes is the ultimate way to live.
You get home at the end of the day, it's almost like a refuge. It takes a special kind of person to appreciate all that's available here in this house. "25 miles north of Topeka, Kansas, on a barren piece of land, Ed Payton and his wife chose this unusual bunker to become their permanent home.
In the beginning, some of my family thought I maybe had gone nuts.
Ed is a devoted peace educator, so buying an intercontinental ballistic launch site with a top-secret past seemed like an odd choice. It was originally built in the Cold War era for $3.3 million and once housed the Atlas E nuclear missile, a weapon of mass destruction.
We see this as a transformational project that we've done here with the missile site, transforming that weapon of mass destruction into a place where we talk about love and have a lot of fun. We like being underground. It's very quiet. We sleep very well. It just seems so warm, cozy, and protective, like a rabbit in a burrow.
The outside looks like an entrance to a parking garage, but inside, it's a fortress.
We call our property Subterra because we are underground. We sometimes refer to it as Subterra Castle because it is a fortified structure built by the government for defensive purposes, so it's a 20th century castle.
Subterra sits on 35 acres. The Paydens scored the 20,000 square foot space for just $2 per square foot. Quite a bargain.
It's nice picking up after the government. They have all the best stuff. They spare no cost. And when they're finished with it, they just dump it.
Over the next 10 years and thousands of dollars later, they built a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom home with a greenhouse, garage, an 11,000 square foot workshop, and a 2-story apartment.
Well, one of the first things we had to do was pump out all the water. That took a little while, and then just clean up the mess. There was trash. The floors were a mess. It took a while. I took many, many wheelbarrow loads of slushy, garbage, smelly stuff out the tunnel and deposited in a hole out there where the diesel fuel tank had been removed. The benefits of taking a multi-million-dollar structure in the rough, flooded, deserted, and to begin to refurbish that, make it warm, livable, and functional, a lot of value is added quickly.
But divvying up so much space took some clever thinking. Just north of Topeka, Kansas, peace educators Ed Payton and his wife built their dream home inside a decommissioned nuclear weapon facility.
We have retrofitted the place into a rather sizable and comfortable home with a nice shop, big garage space, and we like it here.
The concrete bunker has 18-inch thick walls and 3 feet thick floors. Nothing poses a threat to this facility, which was originally engineered by the U.S. government.
The mass of this structure was mostly about protection. It was meant to withstand a nearby nuclear strike, so we don't have to worry about tornadoes.
Figuring out how to transform 20,000 square feet of space was an overwhelming task, so they blocked off the main living quarters first.
This is the ceiling of the launch control structure, and this is the part of the missile base we have made into our home.
This space once housed a massive diesel generator. Now, it's an all-purpose party room.
We sometimes call it the power room or the great room. Originally, this was the diesel generator room when the missile base was active, and they could launch that missile on their own generated power because they couldn't depend on the grid powering this big thing. So this was a diesel generator room. It was very noisy. It's a big, beautiful room, 54 by 54 feet in dimension with 15-foot ceiling heights. We have parties, we have concerts, and we have a lot of drums in here. We have a lot of fun in here.
And who would guess that this spacious living room used to be a nuclear control center?
These windows came from a church that my wife attended as a girl. And we pretend to have windows.
Lit from behind, the windows give the illusion of filtered sunlight.
Even though we're underground, it looks as though we might have windows.
Ed hoped to change the location of the kitchen, to bring it closer to the main living area, making it more convenient to access. But moving pipes through 3 feet of concrete in the floors made it nearly impossible. So he stuck with the original mess hall instead.
There's over 1 million cubic yards of concrete in the whole structure. The walls and ceiling are 18 inches thick, with lots of heavy rebar in there. Now this is where it really gets real. This is the tunnel. This is the tunnel that leads down to where that Atlas rocket was stored with that 4 megaton warhead ready to fire. Come along.
The place is filled with preserved relics.
I like having this stuff here. These are historic artifacts. This is the launch control panel. This site was active in October of 1962 during the Cuban Missile Crisis, which was probably the most dangerous time for humans on the planet. And these were here.
It's a 120-foot trek to the missile bay, where the megaton nuclear warhead was stored. Now, it's Ed's garage.
75 feet long. The missile was here. It entered through that door. And in order to be launched, this entire door above had to be retracted to the west. So the entire ceiling, 400 tons, is a door that opened to let the missile rise. Our garage door weighs 47 ton, probably the biggest garage door in the county. Very strong, nobody kicks it in.
At the garage entrance, a chilling reminder of the Cold War.
Here is a picture of the nuclear warhead that was atop this Atlas rocket. This thing was a 4 megaton hydrogen bomb. This thing was 320 times larger in explosive power than the Hiroshima bomb. These signs are particularly interesting. This top sign we found out bent up out by the fence when we were mowing, and this is an authentic sign from the day the site was active. And it is a restricted area. No one was allowed around here. They didn't want visitors.
Ed loves spending time at home, but not when the power goes out.
Being underground, it's very dark in here when the lights are off.
So he installed solar panels to supplement the power grid. He also built 2 30-foot lookout towers to give the place a more castle-like appearance.
The towers were challenging. They're actually salvaged fuel tanks from gas stations out of Topeka. We did, however, have to bring a crane out to set them up.
To bring some sunlight and plant life in, Ed created a greenhouse.
We needed it because down below, underground, there's no view, and there's not much natural light. And this has just given us a whole new realm to function in, and we really like being in the greenhouse. Before they go in the ground in the garden, we always start our tomato bedding plants. We start them here. We have grown different kinds of greens in the greenhouse throughout the winter. The greenhouse helps us warm the underground structure. Or even in the winter when the snow is off and when it's clear and open, it can get 90 degrees in here while it's 20 or 30 degrees outside. We have a fan over here where we can blow that warm greenhouse air down into the underground structure.
The Paydens transformed a nuclear launch facility into an underground haven like no other. And they're loving life in Subterra.
This whole project has been life-defining for us, and it's very much worth it. I feel a lot of pride in the house, and I know that this place will exist for hundreds of years.
80 miles north of New York is the small town of Wassaic. In 2009, architect and farmer Alan Shope and his wife snatched up this old farmhouse on which to build their underground home.
The property is a 75-acre parcel of land bordered by the 10-mile river. It's alluvial farmland with 10 feet of the most beautiful topsoil you've ever seen in your life. We grow apples and peaches and plums and pears and raspberries and every type of vegetable.
At 1,900 square feet, it has 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, a full-size kitchen, living room, and dining area.
This is our bedroom. It's built out of black cherry that grew here on this property. I loved using this particular local vernacular material because it doesn't need a finish and doesn't need any maintenance, and creates a room that ages naturally with a beautiful patina, and once it's completed, will last a century without any care.
I love living here because of the orientation of the sun, the beautiful river that comes through the property. I am a falconer and love flying birds on this property. I like being a farmer. I love living here for a lot of reasons.
Living underground was a dream for Alan, but few others thought it was a good idea.
I received enormous cautioning from family and friends. Don't do it. Julie's going to hate it. She doesn't want to live like a groundhog.
That didn't stop more than 350 of the town's residents from turning up to help him build the entire place by hand.
We built this house as a Amish house raising with family and friends on a summer day during 2010.
The entire frame was finished in just 1 day.
By 6 p.m., we were cooking dinner, had a house entirely erected with all of its interior partitions done and ready for millwork to be installed the next day.
The end result far exceeded everyone's expectations. In the small farming community of Wassaic, New York, Alan Shope and his wife built their one-of-a-kind dream home, underground.
The idea of an underground house should not be mistaken with a dark house or a closed or claustrophobic house. From my perspective, I always conceived that the house would be light, airy, happy, that it would have beautiful views, that the sun would penetrate deep into the spaces.
Most of the furniture and interior woodwork can be credited to one of Alan's hobbies.
I have loved furniture making for most of my adult life, and as part of the process of building this particular house, I built a great deal of the furniture, including bookshelves, kitchen cabinets, all of the door casings, walls, ceilings, and other wooden pieces that you see to the house.
Soon after the house was finished, Mother Nature bared her winter fangs.
We face a lot of difficult weather living here. Upstate New York has had brutal winters. For 3 months, it goes down in the single digits or below zero at night.
But the home was literally carved into a dirt mound, so it had all the protection it needed from the elements.
As you can see, our house is built into the earth on 2 of its 3 sides.
This house is triangularly shaped, which was very deliberate.
20 feet below the Earth's surface, the temperature is a constant 55 degrees. The soil insulates the home and saves thousands of dollars a year on heating and air conditioning bills.
This house very much lives in harmony with nature and takes very little and gives a lot. So the house is simply designed that the earth can care for the house under any circumstances.
But certain areas, like the exterior walls and roof, would be exposed to both sub-zero and scorching temperatures. So Alan built them out of an unusual, locally salvaged material.
Natural copper was readily available to us on adjacent sites that was going to be melted down and made into other materials. We loved the idea of taking that material for this house and giving it a second life. The various larger pieces, which are actually copper with an ancient patina on them, as well as the smaller pieces alongside of the window, are made from the screens of old windows.
The copper on the roof is made from recycled copper, which was actually remanufactured, given back to us in a fully new, shiny penny state, and we built that roof out of it.
The skylight located behind me is from the roof of an old institutional building next door that was demolished. We loved the idea of giving it a new life, to give light to the deepest part of this house that was recessed farthest into the earth.
Alan also used another light source to heat this house: these front windows.
The windows for this house are actually made by the Tischler Manufacturing Company in Germany. They are high R, super insulated, argon-filled, fixed glass, and they were designed in such a way to be able to try to control the air infiltration into this building in a careful way, but allow maximum solar penetration into the building. The curtains, which are insulated curtains, and the concrete floor work simultaneously and synergistically with one another, where the sun enters the windows and heats up the concrete floor, which holds the heat for 12 to 14 hours. And when the curtains are closed, as the sun sets each day, the floor begins to radiate the BTUs that it has saved in storage and gives that heat to the house throughout the course of the night.
Alan saved a lot of money on recycled goods. Some of them even got a new purpose.
The two ventilators located behind me were originally located on barns, and we refashioned them and recycled them to become the chimney ventilation for this house, as well as the ERV ventilator, which is the energy reclamation ventilator that allows hot and cold air to come in from the exterior to the interior of the house.
One of the reclaimed materials has an unusual backstory.
The large flagstones in front of the house are reused materials from an old women's prison that was built in the early 1800s in Springfield, Massachusetts. When the prison was demolished, we actually acquired the stones for a very small amount of money and brought them here, and thought they were a wonderful material that would be able to service this project for a new life and last hundreds of years.
There was one obstacle to building the triangle-shaped home, but Alan came up with a quick solution.
The windows tend to be directional on one side of the building. We compensated for that with the use of a reused, recycled skylight, which allows natural sunlight to be able to fall into the very back walls of the house and be able to light things naturally.
Since the house is off the grid, power couldn't be provided by the town, so he turned to the most eco-friendly source available: the sun.
This is an all-electric house, and on the roof of this house, we have 54 photovoltaic panels that create all of the electricity that we need to power all of the appliances in the house for both cooking, any type of air conditioning should we need it, or any type of convenience outlets.
A design principle for this house was low maintenance, low energy. We are very low energy. We make what we need on an annual basis.
To own an energy-efficient home built with reclaimed materials was a dream of Alan's, and he's living it in his ultimate underground creation.
I can live in this house and feel a different way that other people can't. I can feel that I am more in harmony with nature and causing less of a mark on the earth. I am very proud of the house. It was absolutely worth it, and we've learned a great deal. It's been great. It's been a wonderful adventure.
"250 miles west of Kansas City, Kansas, is the Raven Ridge Complex. Tornadoes have been known to tear through this area, but developer Larry Hall, resident of this unusual facility, is prepared for something much worse: the apocalypse.
I like living here because of the peace of mind and security that you get. The security is very serious here. Between the automated sensor technologies and the highly trained people that we have, it lets us sleep very well at night here.
The 15-story silo plunges 175 feet into the earth. Inside, there are 12 luxury condos, priced from $1.5 to $4.5 million.
Levels 5 through 11 are all residential levels, so those all have either full floor or half floor condominium units in them.
And there's no shortage of amenities. A 75-foot pool, gym, rock climbing wall, dog park, movie theater, arcade and bowling alley, to name a few. But there's plenty more.
This is a thought-out, engineered facility that is designed for your health and well-being. It's engineered to support 75 people indefinitely.
At over 54,000 square feet, it's a protected community like no other.
This is the main security and building management control center. This command and control room is the lifeblood of the system. We can maintain and monitor all the critical building systems here. All of our sensors for gas, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, water, smoke, fire. Another challenging aspect of building this facility was the system integration. There's a lot of complex building parts that you don't see in normal construction. Just the basic complexity of all the systems was a challenge in itself. This facility engineered to withstand a 2,000+ mile-an-hour shockwave, the kind of shockwave that would be generated by a nuclear detonation.
The place has a bit of a checkered past. It used to be a missile silo.
This particular site was built in 1960 by the Army Corps of Engineers. It was decommissioned in 1967. When I acquired this site in 2008, definitely in the fixer-upper category.
Over the next 6 years, Larry transformed the entire complex.
We've literally taken a weapon of mass destruction and turned it into the complete opposite. It's now a facility of survival. I think that's the neatest aspect of it.
To protect the enormous fortress from unwanted visitors, there's a front door like no other.
These are armor-plated, concrete-filled, 16,000-pound doors. They're hydraulically activated. You don't want to get your fingers trapped in this door.
At the Raven Ridge Complex, 250 miles west of Kansas City, Kansas, Larry Hall is more than prepared for the apocalypse. His missile silo home was originally built by the government in 1960, with 12,000 tons of reinforced steel and concrete walls 9 feet thick. No one is getting in here. Unless they fork out millions to buy one of the silo's 12 luxury condos. These homes are no Soviet-era bunkers. They're furnished with the best that money can buy.
The first thing that you'll notice are the appliances. These were selected as the highest mean time between failure, meaning that these particular appliances were very reliable. All of them are the same throughout here because we didn't want to carry spare parts for 10 different brands of appliances.
The most important thing to have on hand in any disaster is safe drinking water. The silo's water comes from 2 wells and is naturally pure. But there's a heavy-duty filtration system just in case. Larry also figured out how to farm fresh food for 75 people.
Welcome to a state-of-the-art aquaponics lab. Aquaponics is a combination of aquaculture, which is fish raising, and hydroponics, which is crop raising. Essentially, what we've got is a synergistic system that lets the fish that grow in these round tanks, their waste products are used as the fertilizer for growing the plants. It's a completely organic system.
If supplies ever run low, there's even a general store nearby.
This is where people will come to get their supplies. We have at least 5 years worth of food for every man, woman, and child that's here. In other words, this is a backup supply of food. This isn't the typical stuff that you pick up off a store like a can of green beans or something. This is all vacuum packed with oxygen absorbers and things to give it an extra long shelf life.
2 diesel generators and a wind turbine provide power to the complex. And thousands of backup batteries keep the place from ever going dark.
Being underground, there's no windows. Our solution to the problem was to install high-definition television in a window frame and hook them up to live high-definition cameras at the surface level. So for all practical purposes, you see a live feed as though you were up at the top. It really tricks your mind. Instead of feeling isolated and removed, it connects you with the surface. So the psychology of it is that you don't feel like a trapped rat in a small cage.
It can be tough living indoors 24 hours a day. So one way residents maintain their sanity is through intense physical activity.
This is a state-of-the-art pool. This is as advanced as it gets. This is a 50,000-gallon, 75-foot-long pool. A computer keeps the humidity and the water temperature set at 84 degrees. It makes its own chlorine from the salt so it doesn't burn your eyes out. It's very easy to maintain. It's geothermally heated so that it's very energy efficient.
For Larry, there's nothing better than living a protected life inside the solid walls of a silo. The ultimate underground home.
All the effort that we put into this project has been worth it. We're working on our second silo and we're negotiating on the third and fourth.
If you're looking to escape life above ground for cool temperatures, structural safety, and unique design, dig deep and build the next ultimate underground home.